Okay, so since this is our Python console, you can also drag objects into this Python console. So for example, if I take my walnut, my data set, I can drag and drop, and I have access to the ORS objects. This data set here, the name is walnut, and I can assign it and drag and drop. So now I have a variable for my data set. If I create a ruler, I can also drag and drop it. Any, maybe not this R. Any objects in this list, I can always drag and drop. So if I have ruler, I can drag and drop. And now I have access to my ruler or my walnut. So these are our objects in the Python interface. Okay, the last one that you can drag and drop is this special icon here, this gray box next to the camera. So if I click it and drag and drop, I can get access to this display. Okay. So for example, for the walnut, so in Python, you can press, for all of the variables, you can always press dot and tab, and then you can see all of the methods associated with the variable. So to walnut, for example, I can add slice, add all of these things, or apply these, and there's many of them. I think so if you press tab again, you will get the selection window, and you can see through the list what are the options we have. So for example, I can now do walnut.get title, and it will tell me the name of the data set. So the name of this data set is walnut. If I can rename it and call this walnut for ORS Asia. So now I've updated my data set name. So now if I go back to the Python console and ask for its title, it now gives me the new title. Okay, is everyone okay so far? For all of our objects, the methods that you can access is on our developer documentation. But I guess I will come back to this in a few moments. But I just wanted to show you now that you can always visually grab and access our objects through the Python console. Okay, so I think for now we can switch back to PyCharm, and we can finish the setup for Dragonfly. Okay, so in PyCharm, if you go back to this section and click the drop down and select Edit Configurations, and then you click the Add and this add a new Python. And here you can, so what we're doing now is to set up is to tell PyCharm how to start Dragonfly from within PyCharm. Okay, so the name of this will be Start Dragonfly. Or you can name it however you want, but for today, you can call it Start Dragonfly. And since I already have it from before, I will just call this Dragonfly 2, or I guess 3.65. Sorry, 3.5. Okay, so the script you want to run, you can select it by clicking the 3 dots. Okay, and you can close this. There's a folder called Program Data. If you don't see program data, you have to click this button to show hidden files. Okay, so then it's program data, ORS, Dragonfly 35, and then Python. Okay. And then you scroll down, and it should be this one. ORS minimal startup scripts. Everyone found it? Oh, and then you select it and you press OK.
I didn't follow what you do with the because I had a problem with the integrator. I just fixed the integrator. Okay. After that, what do you do? And this is configuration is only for this project. Yeah. Every configuration. This will be for everyone. But only this version of it. Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. And the next one you need to change is the working directory. So this one is where you installed Dragonfly. So I installed my Dragonfly in program files. So it's C, program files, and Dragonfly. And then press OK. So you click on here, working directory. You click on this little icon.
Yeah, the default is program data. So you change it to program file.
Yes. And you change it to where you install Dragonfly. Okay. Okay. Did you change it?
The data.
You just So now I can press OK, and I can press OK for this too. And if everything is set up properly, when you press this green arrow button to run, you should get this console appearing, and it should start Dragonfly. And no for this. And so now I have Dragonfly that has started from PyCharm. So most of you, I think, will have an error when starting. So if you click on, actually no, it should be okay. Does everyone see their Dragonfly?
No.
Okay. So now this is how you can start Dragonfly from PyCharm. And you started it from using the Python executable. So that's it. So PyCharm is set up and you are ready for development. Okay. So for now, I will close. For now, I will close Dragon or minimize it and come back. Okay. So. Okay. Okay. So does anyone have a question about these basic data types? Yeah.
We drive data set or camera or other major object into Asia Conference.
Yeah.
All of the objects can drive into.
Yeah. All of the objects in this list.
I mean, because
No. It's only the objects in this list. So yeah, the buttons, if you drag, it doesn't work and nothing happens. Okay. Okay, for this I will skip for now. Okay, so in Python, and when you program, you can write something called a function. And functions are basically code that will be executed when you need to repeat the same process many times. So, for example, this is a function. In Python, you can start defining a function with this keyword def for define, and then the name of the function and some parameters. So here this parameter is called name, and when you program, it's good to put a comment. Sorry, I guess before that. The name of the variables and then the colon, and then you start a new line, and in Python you always put spaces for for it to be together. In other languages you have the curly brace, but here in Python it's always based on the spacing, and it's so if you put the same spacing, then this is one block for the function. So here, for example, I put a comment, and this line will not be executed. This is just for the programmers or the readers to know, to help the program understand what it's doing. And then you can add code to be executed. So here I created a simple function that will print print the string, and it's going to print the name. So then I can use this function by doing say hello. Everyone understands? Okay. Oh, in the console. You can press Control Enter. So for example, if I type def say hello with a name, so Control Enter to start a new line. And in the console, it will automatically add spaces for you. So then I can say print hello plus name. And then you press Enter 2 times in the console for it to save. Okay, so you've just created your first function in Python. So now I can use this function by using its name, say hello, and giving it an object. Giving it a string. So now I can say hello, everyone, for example, and it will print hello plus name. Everyone follow? Yeah. And everyone understands what they are doing? Okay. In Python also, you can add extra variables that are optional. So for optional arguments, you need to give it a default value. So if I add optional parameter, and give it a default value. This is the syntax for it. So you give it a name and you assign it a default parameter. So now, so now I can just add a new line and say print optional parameter. Okay. Sorry. I will just rename this to say hello to. Okay, everyone. Okay, so far. So now the difference is I can still say hello and type everyone, and it will. This is say hello to. So if I press enter, it will print hello everyone, and since I did not specify a second parameter, it's going to use a default value of 1. And so now if I add another parameter and say the number 12, it now will print hello everyone, but the number 12 now instead of the number 1, because now I specified what optional parameter is. Okay, everyone understand? Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Okay. So next is control flow. So now, this sorry. For control flow, it's to change how your function behaves. So normally when I write code, it will execute linearly. But if I can add conditions to my code, and it will do something depending on the conditions. In Python, there are 3 types of control flow. There's the if statements. So if something is true, so the syntax is if, and then your condition is true, then do something. So for example, if I go back here, so if I go back to my definition, I can add a control flow like this. So if optional parameter is greater than 0, and then a colon, and then come back down to the next line, and add extra space. So you can press tab for more spaces. Okay. So now if I call this function say hello to with the parameter everyone and then the number 0, for example, now when I press enter, it will only print hello everyone, because my optional parameter here, 0, it's this value, optional parameter, is not bigger than 0. So now it will not print this line. Yeah. Makes sense for everyone? Okay. Okay, so if I come back here, so if this parameter is not greater, if it's not greater than 0, then maybe we can do something else. So to do something else, you can say press backspace to go back, and you can say else print optional parameter needs to be bigger than 0. Okay. So now if I try this again with say hello to everyone. So now I get in the console, the first one, print hello everyone, and then the function checks this parameter, optional parameter, if it's bigger than 0. Since it's not bigger than 0, it decided it does the else statement, and it does it prints optional parameter needs to be bigger than 0. Does that make sense for everyone? Yeah. And the last variation is the else if. So you can check for multiple conditions. So you can use ELIF, and this is short for else if in Python, and this is the keyword that you need to use. If optional, so instead of else, I can do elif optional parameter is equal to 0. So in Python, the two equal signs, what it does is to do a comparison. It compares if optional parameter is equal to 0. And so if it's equal to 0, you can say, you can print something else. So maybe you can print that optional parameter is 0. So now if I press enter to create my function and call it again, say hello to everyone, and if I do 0 now, what it will do is execute this statement. So hello everyone. It will check this if optional parameter is greater than 0, and check the other. And since it's not greater than 0, it will go to the next statement. Is it equal to 0? Yes. And so now it will print this one. And similarly, if I go and do -1, it will print that the optional parameter needs to be bigger than 0. And so it will execute this statement. Okay. Anyone have a question so far? Okay. And in Python, so you also have different types of control flow with a while statements and a for loop. And these are useful for iterating over a list. So there's so the while statements is not used very often in Python. More often is the for loops that are used. In Python, if you have a list, so earlier there was my variable that is a list. I can create a loop to access all of them. So in Python, the syntax is for like index, for example, in the range. And here in my variable, I have 3 items. So I can say range of 3 in colon. And then enter. And then I can do print my variable index. And then enter again. And so now instead of accessing it manually one by one, I can use a loop to access it. And another way to access the list is in other languages. This is very common to use the index, but in Python, it's preferred to access the list directly. So I can do for item in my variable. I can print my item directly. So there's no need for the index anymore in Python to access the. You don't need the index to access your list. You can just get the item directly. Okay. Okay. So this is the basic control flow in Python. Okay. Let's see. Okay. This I'll skip. Okay. So the next part I want to introduce is debugging Python code in PyCharm. And I guess before debugging, maybe we can start creating an extension in Dragonfly. Okay, so to create an extension, the easiest way is actually to go to Dragonfly. And then in our developer menu, we have many generators for you to use already. So for example, if you want to have a new action, there's a generator for it. There's a menu item. There's property panels. So I'll go through these this afternoon. But for now, I want to just focus on a menu item. So if you select generic menu item generator, you get this new dialog. Here you can specify some basic properties for your menu. So here you can give the name of your menu item. So here I will call it synchronize. So this one will be to synchronize legends with other views. So the name of this item is the name of the file that it will generate. So here it's called synchronize legends with other views. Okay. In Python, or not in Python, for Dragonfly, the extensions we develop can be in two locations. They can either be for current user or all users. And so for now, I recommend the current user. But if we put it in all users, then everyone on the computer can use it. And if it's for current user, then only the current logged in user can use it. Okay. And the menu can appear in one either in the top menu here. So this is what the top level means. So or contextual. And contextual menu is when you right click. So if you select one of these file, tools, or developer, the menu item will appear up here. Or you can choose custom top level and it will appear as a new option here. So for this one, I want to make it contextual and have it as a right click. Okay, so I select contextual, and then for this one, what I want to call it is synchronize position with other views. Okay. And then the section is for grouping menu items together. So if you develop many menu items, then when you give it the same name, they will be grouped together. I will show this in a moment, but for now I will call this Jeju 2018. And this will not be seen by the users. This is just for you as a developer. And then in the about, you can enter some general information. So for the documentation and all of this, like your name, your contact, you can fill this out later. This will be auto-filled with the default that you've already set. So for now, I'll just click create menu item. And so if I click on open menu item directory, it will appear in the users, Dragonfly, app data, local, ORS, Dragonfly 35, Python user extensions, and generic menu items. So all of the menu items you create will show up here. Okay, and it created a new file. So the title I gave it earlier, it is synchronize legends with other views. This is the menu item name here. And we always add an extra ID so that there's no conflict with other users. So if two users decide to give the same name, it's very unlikely that they will have the same ID after. Okay, makes sense for everyone? Okay. So if you have your PyCharm set up properly, then it should appear Oh wait, so you should be able to access it from from PyCharm. So if you don't see this menu on the left, you can click on View Tool Buttons. And then if there's a check mark, that's good. And then on the left, you can click on Project. So when you click on Project, you should see the folders. And then the new menu item that you created is here. It's in the Python user extensions, generic menu items, and synchronized legend with other views. And when you open it, it will already contain some code that is needed for the menu item. Has everyone found it? I called it synchronized position with other views.